This is the third video looking at the details of the breathing topic for Year 7. So we need to think about how much of each of the different gases we have in air that is inhaled compared to air that is exhaled. So inhaled means breathing in. And if we look at those, we can see the pie charts give us a comparison. Mine aren't very good because they're not coloured, but we can look at the percentages of each of these different gases in the air. So this is what we're breathing in, normal air, and these are numbers that you need to remember for your science for the future. We can compare it to those numbers, those percentages of different gases that are breathed out, exhaled. So let's have a look at them one by one. Let's first think of the nitrogen. Nitrogen, N. I'm going to write that because it's really useful to get used to the symbols. Actually, nitrogen gas in the air is N2, so I'm going to write that. Okay, so for nitrogen, if we look at what is the percentage of nitrogen in breathed in air, well, it's 78%, and if we look down at the breathed out air, well, it's 78%. So nitrogen, it's 78% in both, so there's no change. We need to think about why is there no change, and that's simply because the body cannot use it. In that form. We need nitrogen, but we get it in other forms, mainly from eating protein that contains nitrogen substances. So the body cannot use nitrogen. This means it is not taking part in gas exchange at the alveoli. Let's have a look at the we're going to go to this one first. Are the gases less than 1%? Are the gases less than 1%? And argon, 1%, argon less than 1%, sorry, less than 1% there. So these are the same as well. So it's exactly the same for the other gases and also for argon. Argon, we abbreviate that to AR. So we've got the same reason. Argon, we've got less than 1% in both. What's the reason? Well, it's the same. There's no change. The body can't use the argon. It's not taking place. It's not taking part in gas exchange. They're the easy ones because they don't change. Let's have a think about the other ones. So we have oxygen. Well, oxygen that we breathe in is 21% of the air. Well, then if we look at what we breathe out 16% of the air. So there's a difference there of 5%. So where's that 5% going to? Why is it lower by 5%? Well, it must be being used in something, some process. So to say it's just being used by the body is far too vague. If we think back to the previous video, what process needed oxygen? Let's have a quick look. Well, the process that needed oxygen is aerobic respiration. So that must be what it's being used for. So it's used in aerobic respiration. And that means that it must be diffuses from the alveoli into the red blood cells in the capillary. Let's have a look at the next one. Carbon dioxide. this carbon dioxide that we would breathe in is 0.04%. It's a really small amount. 0.04% of the air is carbon dioxide. The breathed out air, let's have a look, 4%. That's actually quite a big increase. Quite a big change. That's 100 times more. So we breathe out an awful lot more than we breathe in. So it must have come from somewhere. Where is it from? What process has made it? What's produced it? Well, if we think back to the previous video with our alveolus, let's have a little look. We had carbon dioxide, it was breathed out. The carbon dioxide was from other cells and it was a waste product of aerobic respiration. We can look at the equation here. There's carbon dioxide. Look, it's being made. These we call the reactants. These, the things that are made, are called the products. It means that that carbon dioxide must be produced by the process of aerobic respiration. And it's a waste product. That means you don't need it. In fact, it becomes toxic if it builds up. So what's happened to it? Well, it's diffused across. I'm running out of room here. Let me put it here. The carbon dioxide diffuses from the plasma, which is in the blood, it's the liquid of the blood, to the alveolus, and then it is breathed out. So when you need to compare the composition of the air, we need to consider which gases have stayed the same, and those that stayed the same were the nitrogen and the argon and the other small amounts of gases, and this is because the body cannot use those gases, so they don't take part in gas exchange. We need to consider gases that have decreased, so from 21% to 16%. Well, that's our oxygen. Well, why has it gone down? That's because we use that oxygen in the process of aerobic respiration. So it diffuses across from the alveoli in the lungs to the capillary, the blood. So it can be delivered to all of those other cells for this process to happen. And then we have the gas carbon dioxide, which actually increases. So the air that we breathe in contains a very small amount of carbon dioxide. The air that we breathe out contains an awful lot more carbon dioxide. So it must be from something. It's made by aerobic respiration and it's a waste product. That means that we take it from the blood plasma to the alveolus of the lungs and we breathe it out. In the next video, I'll look at the bell jar lungs as an example of a lung model.